job security is actually a myth. I mean, now TCS is a classic example where we are seeing this kind of a layoff news, okay? If this is going to happen in TCS, why not in other companies as well? So you plan for a case where you need to have of your annual expense at that point of time, and that can help you to handle your layoff situation. So this is the working that I have. Out of this 95 lakhs, even after withdrawing 1.26 crores of money, the corpus is 2.82 crores. And remember, this was in such a worst period, 2008, and during COVID, the markets fell by 38%.
But now, how to actually get this number,
Focus on the process. As MS Dhoni always says that he's not bothered about the results, he focuses only on the process. But there is a simple formula for 1 crore.
There are people who have taken loan. How should they plan the repayment of the loan?
Mistake that most people often do is aggressively trying to pre-close the loan. Not all loans are actually worth for pre-closure, because when was the last time you flew by a flight?
5 to 6 months back.
What was the name of the pilot?
I don't know.
Okay, what was his flying experience?
Not aware.
Without knowing all these things, you took the biggest risk in your life of flying with them. But when it comes to investment, we take so much of risk in our life day to day. See, Indian parents are very emotional. For your child's education and wedding, you can definitely take a loan. But for your retirement, no bank is going to give you loan.
ओके, तो जस्ट बिफोर स्टार्टिंग दी पॉडकास्ट, आप में से जितने भी लोग हैं जिन्हें स्टॉक मार्केट इन्वेस्टिंग में इंटरेस्ट है, उनके लिए एक छोटा सा अपडेट है कि जो शुभम है वो संडे को एक वेबिनार कर रहे हैं। तो जिन्हें नहीं पता शुभम के बारे में, शुभम 29 की एज में फाइनेंशियली फ्री हो गए थे, इसलिए अमेजॉन यूएस की जॉब छोड़ के वो बैंगलोर इंडिया शिफ्ट हो गए और एक फुल टाइम इन्वेस्टर बन गए। तो अगर आप इस वेबिनार में इंटरेस्टेड हैं और शुभम के एक्सपीरियंस से सीखना चाहते हैं, तो इसके लिए आप डिस्क्रिप्शन में दिए गए लिंक से वेबिनार के लिए रजिस्टर कर सकते हैं। और जैसे ही आप वेबिनार के लिए रजिस्टर करते हो, यू विल गेट अ फ्री शॉर्ट कोर्स ऑन योर व्हाट्सएप कि जो स्टॉक प्राइस है किसी भी कंपनी का, वो इंक्रीज या डिक्रीज कैसे होता है, प्लस अ कैलकुलेटर जो शुभम यूज करते थे जब वो अपनी फाइनेंशियली फ्री की जर्नी में थे। इसके साथ साथ जब आप संडे को वेबिनार ज्वाइन करोगे तो यू विल ऑल्सो गेट अ फ्री गिफ्ट देयर। हम एक वेबिनार में मैक्सिमम 400 लोगों को एक्सेप्ट करते हैं। अगर इस वीक का वेबिनार आप मिस करते हैं तो आपको अगले हफ्ते तक वेट करना पड़ेगा। एनीवे, स्टार्ट करते हैं इस अमेजिंग पॉडकास्ट से।
Rajkumar, before we start with, how to get financially free and everything, I want to talk about the recent LinkedIn post that you did regarding the layoffs. So can you just tell me what was the post about? Because, it got somewhat viral and a lot of people wanted to ask you questions regarding that.
Thank you, Hemant. So in fact, TCS recently announced a layoff of around 12,000 employees from its organization, which is translating approximately to 2% of its workforce.
Yeah.
Right? So TCS, which is known for job security, announcing such a measure was a major heartbreak for many people who are actually within TCS and also outside TCS. For the people outside TCS, the only fear was, if this is going to happen in TCS, why not in other companies as well? Okay, because it is known for the job security.
Right.
So I just posted on LinkedIn that job security is actually a myth. I mean, now TCS is a classic example where we are seeing this kind of a layoff news, okay? And this can happen in TCS, this can happen everywhere. And I was just telling how to prepare for all these things, right?
Great.
And that post, I mean, many of the people were able to relate because most of them working in the corporate world, they were actually curious to know how they can safeguard themselves from the layoff. But anyways, it is always better to know all these things than, encounter that real time.
Right. So how can one prepare for the layoffs? Because in the era of AI and everything, everyone is scared, especially the tech people.
This we cannot avoid completely. As Darwin's theory states, it is survival of the fittest. I mean, you can prove your expertise in the industry and continue to be long. Okay. But in today's context, probably a person is specialized in some field, it used to be Java in the past, and then it used to be Oracle, DBA, and many other things that we are talking about. Then came data science. Today they are talking about AI. There are many other fields. I mean, it keeps evolving. I mean, you cannot expect a person to be a master in all these technologies all through the career, right? Now, if someone is going to be in their 20s, they start their IT career. you cannot expect them to explore all these technologies and become a master or remain a master all through their tenure in IT. So the point is, your job is not going to stay until you are 60, right? So you plan for a case where you try to achieve financial independence around 40, 45. People are also understanding the fact that you cannot aspire to be financially free in their 30s, right? 40s is when their profile is also getting risky in the corporate world, because they complete around 20 years or 15 years around that time. You need to have 25x of your annual expense at that point of time if you are in your 40s, okay? And that can help you to handle your layoff situation or your retirement all along. I think 25x is a good number to start with.
So like how this number is enough? Like, do you have a theory to back this particular number? Like how you came up with this?
Right. See, there is so many conversations going around this topic. Okay.
Right.
Some people say crazy numbers like 40 times of annual expense, 50 times of annual expense. If you're in your 40s, you need 50 times of your annual expense to live your life until 90. Okay.
Right.
See, the point is how practical it is to get a corpus of 50x is the question, right?
Right.
And again, 25x is something that I arrived because I wanted to consider a worst case scenario. Okay. So worst case scenario is something like a 2008 kind of scenario when the markets actually tanked by more than 50%. So this is the working that I have. Assuming someone has 1 lakh expense today, which is quite a normal number because most of the people living in metros easily spend around 1 lakh a month. Okay.
Right.
So I'm taking the highest side also. I mean, I'm considering the inflation of 7%. Now going backward, this 1 lakh today could have been 31,657 in the past, in 2008. Why I'm taking 2008? Because 2008 was the worst year of the market crash. Okay. So now let's go back to that scenario to do a back testing to see how this 25x of corpus could have lasted for quite some time. Okay. Now 31,657 is your monthly expense. That translates to around 3.8 lakhs for an annual expense. 25x of that number would be somewhere around 95 lakhs. Okay. Approximately. Okay. Now, assuming that if someone is going to do a monthly withdrawal from this corpus starting 2008, again, I repeat, why do we consider 2008? 2008, the markets fell by more than 50%. And we just wanted to see, is a 25x corpus enough to handle such a worst case scenario? So the whole idea is, if you are having a corpus equivalent to 25x, and if that is actually managed in a worst case scenario, then that's probably a good number to consider, right? And again, 25x of the corpus, we are investing at a time when the markets crashed in just one single fund. That's again a lazy strategy. The fund name is not a recommendation, but again, I'm just considering one single hybrid fund. And let's assume the person was around 40 years at the time of 2008, because as we spoke, 40 or 45 is the age when people want to be financially free, right? So around the age of 40 or 45, which is in 2008, this person starts doing a systematic withdrawal plan by doing a lump sum investment, okay? And as you see, the lump sum investment was 25 times of annual expense at that point of time, which is around 95 lakhs, okay? 95 lakhs is invested and 31,657 is the monthly withdrawal requested by the investor. And I'm also increasing the monthly requirement by 7% every year to factor inflation. Okay. And we are starting at 2008 January. We are investing the lump sum and we are starting the withdrawal right from there. And we are continuing the SWP till date. Okay. If you see, 213 months of withdrawal would have happened so far. And this 95 lakhs out of this 95 lakhs, this investor could have withdrawn 1.26 crores of money, which is more than the amount of money that the person actually invested. And as we speak today, even after withdrawing 1.26 crores of money, the corpus is 2.82 crores. That is the SWP return of 10.79%. And remember, this was in such a worst period when you invest your corpus and then that corpus is being withdrawn every month and the market saw a big dip during this period of time.
And even twice, I think in 2008 as well as at the time of Corona.
2020. 2008, the markets fell by more than 50%, and during COVID, the markets fell by 38%. And when the corpus has managed to last this long, These are just two major crashes, Hemant. But as you know, like we had many other occasions like demonetization, ILFS crisis, war kind of situation, Russia, Ukraine, whatnot. I mean, we had so many things. We were able to manage 25x. And I'll just show you the working here. So this 95 lakhs that you invested at the start of 2008 could have gone to 47.6 lakhs in less than 1 year. The next year, this corpus could have come down to 48 lakhs. Someone who had the guts to hold it for a long term would have continued to see that money grow. So this 48 lakhs would have again grown to 1 crore in 2014. The
Wow.
amount that was invested was 94 lakhs. And in 2014, which is more than 6 years, the annual withdrawal could have been, the 6-year withdrawal could have been easily more than 25 lakhs. So you withdrew more than 25 lakhs, but you still have more than 1 crore. That's 2014.
Right.
And come to 2023, this corpus has actually become 2 crores. And 2025, as we speak today, it is 2.83 crores. Okay.
Wow.
So basically, you have withdrawn your money for almost 18 years, 17 and a half years to be precise. 2008 till 2025 September. Okay. So which is more than 17 years. And we said the person who starts the investment would be somewhere around 40 or 45 around that time when he invested it. So basically, his corpus has lasted until 58 years. Or probably around, if he was 45, this could have been around 62 years. Okay. So today, as we speak, the corpus is 2.82 crores and his monthly withdrawal is close to 1 lakh. Okay. And as of today, this 2.82 crores is 24 times of his annual expense today after 18 years of withdrawal, starting at a worst case scenario.
So like, it's a beautiful back-tested data, but now the question comes, you have taken all the worst possible case that could have happened. But now how to actually get this number, how to actually retire. So if 25x is the mark.
Most people know the answer, but following that is the biggest difficulty. Start early. Start early. Invest as much as you can. Instead of focusing on the returns that you can generate on the portfolio, focus on the process. As MS Dhoni always says that he's not bothered about the results. He focuses only on the process, right?
Right.
Trust the process. Give 100% to the process. You will definitely see the results coming in. I mean, if someone is starting at 20, what I see is like 15 years of very religious investment, stepping up the investments all through the year without doing any financial mistake. 15 to 20 years. I think that's a good amount of time by which one can achieve, provided if he or she has a good career growth as well, right? Now
Right.
people get stuck, they don't want to grow, forget financial freedom, okay? And once you start your investment when you are a bachelor, and today most of the couple or working couple, both of them work together, and I think there is a huge amount of money that is coming in today, right?
Right.
And with that amount of money, if you start early and if you keep investing every month for at least 15 years, 25x is not difficult, Hemant. Only thing is, they have to continue the discipline. We know what we need to keep ourselves fit, but many of us, we don't follow it for reasons that we know, right?
Right.
So end of the day, it is just the process that needs to be followed and it should not be stopped.
So do you have any data for this also? Because like even 3 crore seems a big number, but actually when you break it down into a monthly SIPs, then again it seems manageable.
See, let's talk in today's term, okay?
Right.
In today's term, 1 crore or probably 3 crore is a big number, maybe to some of them, okay? But there is a simple formula for 1 crore, 15, 15, 15, okay? So 15,000 rupees per month invested for 15 years, compounding at 15% will give you 1 crore in 15 years. Now, assuming if someone would have started investment at the age of 21, 15,000 per month, they can say 15,000 was difficult for me, okay? Let's assume that they probably start less and probably increment it over a period of time.
Right.
In 15, 20 years, they could have easily reached 1 crore. Now, that 1 crore today, right, I think is a big number for many of the people. The point is, they could have earned so much of money, but they did not invest. That's the reason they have not been able to make it. In
Correct.
fact, one of the mutual fund scheme, okay, we just took the data. It was launched in 1995. Okay, so just 1,000 rupees invested every month for all the 30 years. That scheme completes 30 years next month. Okay, so 1,000 rupees invested in that particular scheme for 30 years, your total cost of investment would be just around 3.6 lakhs today. And it is not a one-time investment. Investment spread over 30 years, monthly 1,000. I have not incremented my investment also. I have kept it constant. That 1,000 rupees invested for 30 years today is worth around 2.5 crores.
Wow.
Okay.
Hmm.
So time is the king. But unfortunately, not all of us have that amount of time. I mean, today, even if today someone starts, right, today 1,000 rupees is nothing, right? Someone can easily invest, I mean, like a good amount of money, particularly if they are in their corporate job. And husband and wife, both of them are working, they can invest. Unfortunately, they are not able to do it for reasons. The most common reason is they get trapped into home loans and other big ticket expenses, because of which they are more focused towards the EMI payment, and then they start the investment late. Because of all these things, they are not able to do. One thing is start early, start as much as you can, focus on the process and see ways where you can increase your income. And maybe if you are married and if your wife is also working, see ways where both of you can earn income and get a good hike. Do this for 20 years. You don't have to worry about job loss at all. That's the secret.
Right. So I think there is also one young girl whom you have motivated to invest starting from 6.5 years. So she invested earlier than Warren Buffett, the Lord himself. So can you give the example of her? Because I think there was a LinkedIn post regarding that also. And the XIRR was also very impressive in her case, I think.
See, she's my neighbor. Okay. So I wanted my son to invest. Okay. Because I started investing in my 30s. Okay. Probably I was at 28. Okay. So I wanted my son to invest. He was not comfortable for this market volatility. He said, if the money that I invest comes down in value, so I don't want to take that risk. I was surprised because I am preaching the entire world, but he was not ready for it. Despite explaining him all these things, he was not really convinced. Okay. And this young girl who stays the next door, so she said that, like, I will invest. You are saying all this will work out in the long term. I will start investing. Okay. And then she started investing, and the kid's mentality, right? You get a new toy, and then the neighbor kid also asks for the same, right? So the same thing happened here. When she started investing, my son got the encouragement from her. Okay. So I always thank her, because I was not able to convince my son. It was she who was able to convince my son to start investment. I mean, she is my youngest investor. So she started at around 6.5 or 7 years. And I am sure time is by her side. I mean, when it comes to equity investing, if you give at least a minimum of 5+ years, you will see the portfolio growing well if you give time and if you continue to have the discipline. Now, she started investing when she was probably 7, and I'm sure that she's going to work at least until 45, 50. Okay. So that is a good long-term period. Compounding for such long periods can be lethal. We spoke about another investment where 30 years of investment, 3.5 lakhs over 30 lakhs, translating to 2.5 crores. Now think of her situation.
Right.
I mean, she has got so much of time by her side. I'm sure she will make a good money by the time she reaches around 45 or 50.
Okay, Rajkumar. So, like, what is the assumption for this 25x strategy?
See, it's very simple, Hemant. So we are, we are just one hospital bill away from a big bankrupt situation, right? So today, we never know, even some young people get complicated ailments, which costs more, right? So the biggest risk that we have to mitigate here is take adequate health insurance, right? At least a 1 crore cover of health insurance. You can do it as a 10 lakh base policy plus a 90 lakh top up. Or if you have all the luxury to take a huge base policy like a 25 lakh or a 50 lakh cover for yourself, do that first. and do it as early as possible, because you never know what medical complication you'll get in future. The
Right.
moment you get it, you are not going to get any health cover for the rest of your lifetime. And if that is going to be the situation, you will have to depend on your portfolio for all your medical expenses. So that risk cannot be handled at all. So the first and foremost, cover that risk. Okay. And for all the other financial goals that you have, this is only about your retirement. 25x is only for your retirement.
Hmm.
And if you have other financial goals like your child's education or wedding, right?
Right.
Have funds separately for that. And this 25x, whatever we are going to discuss or consider, is only for your retirement.
Hmm.
This is on assumption that you have a good medical cover, and probably if you have a house, that's fine. But I'm not encouraging to buy houses which are priced unreasonably. If that's not the case, you can consider the rent as a part of your expenses, and that way you can consider a 25x portfolio considering the rent as well. So this is the basic expectation.
Right.
And I am sure that with this, they should be at least be able to manage good 30 years of retirement.
So there's one more thing called sequence of returns. So can you please explain, like, what is
So
sequence,
of returns risk, I mean, see, we spoke about 2008. So 2008 is just one sequence, okay, where your entire corpus, as we saw, a 95 lakh corpus coming down to 47 lakhs. That's a 50% dip. Market falling by 50%, 50, and in fact, I think it fell more than 50%. More than 50% fall is not something very common, okay? The recent fall that we saw was during COVID was 38%.
30%, right.
So point is, all such crashes can happen, okay? But we don't have to be worried so much about it. Sequence of returns risk talks about falls that the market can see. So I am sharing a screenshot of the major drawdowns that Sensex has seen since the year 2004, I would say. Okay. So starting from 2004, these are the major crashes that market has seen. Okay. So 59% in 2008, 26% in 2010, and again 38% in 2020. So these are the major falls. And there is another column here which also talks about the number of days it took to recover. Okay. For example, in 2008, when Sensex fell, this is the price of a Sensex-based ETF, okay? So it took almost 410 days to recover. It started falling from 2008, it crashed until 2009, it bottomed out at 2009. And from 2009, it reclaimed the past high of January 2008 in just another 410 days, right? So the point, the sequence of returns risk talks about the first few years having continuous negative returns, okay?
Right.
So continuous negative returns in our market has not happened. I am not ruling out the possibility. I'm not saying that it cannot happen. But the point is, as you see this table, the time taken for recovery has come down significantly compared to the periods during 2000 and 2008. Now look at this. So 2008, the markets crashed by 60% and it required around 400 days for the market to recover. 2020, COVID, we said the entire world is closed. There is nothing going to happen. We cannot expect returns. The markets crashed by 38%. It required just 164 days to recover. Okay. So the point is, this is basically because of increased participation from the investors. Okay. Both domestic as well as the foreign investors. The participation is more. So the time taken for recovery will be relatively less than what it used to be in the past. So even if there is a sequence of returns risk where we are talking about 2 or 3 continuous negative years, the last 25 years, we have not seen it. And if we are expecting such a scenario in future, I don't think it should happen, but even if it has to happen, the recovery will be quicker so that the 25x corpus will probably last long. So that's the understanding. But anyways, if you're talking about a negative sequence of continuous returns, right, then we can imagine any negative scenario. We can say that, like, let's assume market falls by 25% every year for the next 5 years. Is this really going to happen? No. Right? And again, that will impact only if your portfolio is too small, right? So there is a theory that is recently done which said that to manage the sequence of returns risk also using Monte Carlo simulation, they're talking about 32x corpus can actually help. Okay. What I'm talking about is 25x, which is more realistic because see, the possibility of such events in future is actually very less.
Right.
So 25x is a good number. So sequence of returns risk can also be managed, but the withdrawal should be less. 4% withdrawal rule should be followed. And the point is your portfolio should be invested in such a way that it generates at least 9% of returns from the corpus that you have invested. If you're going so conservative and if your portfolio is generating just 5-6% kind of returns, your corpus cannot last long. You have to plan that better. If you don't have all this expertise, you should take the help of a professional who can get you that returns.
Okay, so like we have seen two type of investors, on the opposite side of spectrum. One who take like too much risk, and on the other side, like there are people who are too conservative. They even fear investing in index funds. So what are your thoughts on that?
For an young investor, okay, who wants to be very lazy and invest in probably a nifty kind of fund, okay,
Right.
Sensex kind of fund. Index fund, I'm not saying all index funds are not applicable, but a large cap based index fund, okay. Now compare the returns of Nifty 500 and Nifty 50 for a good long-term period of 10-15 years, okay. I think more than 15-17% odd. It's not just one point to point. I'm talking about multiple rolling return of 10-15 year period. So Nifty 500 is a good basket. Okay. If you are going for a large cap kind of portfolio, that's not going to help because you have time by your side. So why are we considering mid and small as risky? It's because they are actually very volatile in the short term. But in any long term, I mean 7+ years of time, you can actually see a good portfolio with a mix of mid and small cap can actually do better.
Right.
Particularly if you are young. If you go by the logic of staying with the large cap fund for the sake of safety, you cannot make returns. If they are looking for safety, none of these people should actually work in a private job, right? All of them should get settled in a government job where there is no job loss. They are taking their biggest risk in career. Now I'll ask you another question, Hemant. When was the last time you flew by a flight?
I think close to 5 to 6 months back.
Okay. I don't want to ask the airline because all of us know it is just the same airline that we fly.
Right.
What was the name of the pilot?
I don't know.
Okay. What was his flying experience?
Not aware.
Where was he from? Which part of the country?
Not aware.
Without knowing all these things, you took the biggest risk in your life of flying with him.
Right.
But when it comes to investment, we take so much of risk in our life day to day, but we don't take that risk in investment. And the reason I would say I would not blame the investors because they don't have enough knowledge. They are not able to take all these calls.
Right.
Any successful investor in this world, for that matter, even if it is Warren Buffett or in our country, take Ramdev Agarwal ji. Okay.
No.
Any successful investor will definitely have regrets. Okay. And if legends like these people have regrets in investing where they did not invest early or they did not invest in the right category of market, right? So every Tom, Dick and Harry in this world will definitely have regrets. So I don't want to see a case like where an investor starting his investment at 21 or 22 and then investing for 10 years and then regretting after 10 years that he should have probably invested in other categories where he could have made so much of wealth. So the knowledge should go to them wherein they have to understand the fact that mid and small cap are not risky. They are probably risky in the short term in terms of volatility, but in long term, it is the category that creates wealth. So you have to, that's the reason it's called personal finance. It's very personal. So for an individual, for his requirement, for his risk appetite, the portfolio needs to be constructed.
Okay, Rajkumar, so like there are people who have taken loan and now how should they plan like the repayment of the loan and investment side by side?
So the point is, the first mistake that people do is taking a loan. Unreasonable EMIs, which are no way compared to the income that they make.
Right.
Okay. The second mistake that most people often do is aggressively trying to pre-close the loan. Not all loans are actually worth for pre-closure because Some loans are not that expensive, particularly the loans that belong to the home loan category or probably your education loan. Whereas some loans like credit card loans, personal loans, which are very expensive, you can probably pre-close that loan.
Right.
What happens in most of the cases is people who take home loan, they say that they have that burden or probably the stress of managing this loan for long term. They want to pre-close the loan as early as possible. Right? And what they in turn do is they try to probably pre-close the loan by doing more than what is required for the EMI. Now, let's assume if their EMI is 30,000, they end up paying 50,000 so that they can pre-close the loan. What happens is they will try to close the loan, which is actually scheduled for 20 years in probably 10 years.
Right.
And they will start the investment after they close the loan. What happens here is they lose 10 years of compounding.
Right.
So the best strategy should be leave the loan as it is. Continue your investments in parallel. Now you can come and ask, what if I lose my job? So the question is, if you have that fear, you should not have taken the loan in first place. Now that you have done, start investing, create a corpus. Tomorrow, even if there is a job loss, you have a good amount of money to take care of your monthly expenses during a job loss. Number one. Number two, even if there is a situation like that, and if you have to repay the home loan EMIs, you can take money from this corpus and then start paying it. Never do the mistake of pre-closing the loan aggressively and starting your investment late, because when it comes to investment, it is not just the amount of money that you invest matters, the amount of time that you give for your investment matters more than anything. So
Right.
start it as early as possible and give it more time. So that's the strategy that someone can follow for loan repayment.
So like we have also seen like at least Indian parents. So whenever they are prioritizing their financial life, they want to prioritize, marriage of their kids, home loan and all other things. But the retirement comes last. So like what are your thoughts on this?
See, Indian parents are very emotional. Good that we have the tradition, but again, on the financial angle, this becomes a problem. People
Right.
are so emotional and they focus more on funding for their education. Typically, any Indian parent, now let's say like they'll have 3 goals, non-negotiable goals. Okay, all the other goals like buying a car or vacation or probably something else can be varying from person to person. But for all the parents, the immediate goals are the child's education funding, wedding plan, and retirement. And when I ask them to prioritize all these 3 goals, most of them end up saying that their child's education is their first priority.
Right.
Wedding is the second priority. Retirement is the third priority. Point is, for your child's education and wedding, you can definitely take a loan. But for your retirement, no bank is going to give you loan, right?
Right. Obviously.
And even when you travel in flights, the cabin crew announces, in case of an emergency, protect yourself first before you try to help the other passengers. Right?
Right.
So a point is like, if you are running short of your retirement corpus, your children cannot be your retirement corpus in future. And today's children in particular, they are not going to help you in future because they want to live their life. So
Right.
you focus your retirement, because if you are not going to save enough for your retirement and save good for your child's education and marriage, your retirement is going to be very tough, and it is not fair from our end also to expect some support, financial support from the kids. If they support, take it as a surprise and enjoy it. Otherwise, plan for your retirement, because retirement requires a huge amount of money. For their education, I think you can take a loan and they can start repaying it. You can also help them in terms of repayment. Wedding is a one-day expense. Just think of it and then spend it wisely. I'm not saying you should not spend. That can also be planned and they can help you in terms of repayment. But your retirement, you have to take care. So you have to prioritize retirement over all the other goals.
100%. Like, as a parent, we always focus on child education. So recently, I just remembered I was telling concepts from Rich Dad Poor Dad to one of my relatives, and I talked about assets. And after a few days, he asked his dad, okay, so what are the assets that you have made in your life? And his dad was like, you are my asset. So that was like mind-boggling. Okay, but today, children, I don't think they consider themselves as an asset for their parents. So obviously, we have to protect ourselves. And as you said, you'll get loan for your child, but you'll not get loan for your,
yourself. And we have seen many bad stories where parents struggle. They go to old age home when they don't get enough support from the kids. So my point is, you can help your kids, but at the same time, don't do that at the cost of compromising your retirement life. Your retirement is more important. They'll also understand. Even if you are expecting them to support their education expenses, I think they should be able to manage it easily than
Right.
funding for your retirement. Funding for retirement is going to be very difficult for them.
Okay, Rajkumar. So, like, what would be your advice to a person who has just started the job?
See, age is by the side of the investor because he's very young. He's starting investing at the age of 20s, in his 20s, right? So he can invest aggressively than going too conservative, okay? And with such huge amount of time, the amount of corpus that can be generated is phenomenal. Only thing is discipline needs to be there, and probably the most important point is staying away from being trapped in any kind of loans that will make you reduce your investments. Do not do that, okay? And if you do this, practice it for 15-20 years. Only thing is you should continue, because you have the discipline of doing your monthly PF contribution. You have the discipline of contributing for your monthly home loan. But when it comes to investment, it is always a choice. And I always firmly believe that choices lead to consequences. You make the right choice, financial freedom is possible for everyone. So that's the simplest strategy that we can talk about.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Rajkumar, for coming. I hope like our viewers have learned a lot from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hemant. It's always a pleasure to connect with you. Looking forward for another one.
Yeah, likewise.
ओके तो इस संडे का वेबिनार ज्वाइन करने का लिंक हमने डिस्क्रिप्शन और फर्स्ट कमेंट में दे दिया है। सी यू इन द वेबिनार।